right, y'all. We are in the building. I want to say good evening to all my Black Factor family. Thank you for checking in, y'all. We got a really fun show today. We're going to discuss Mr. Big Nate Hampton checking in. We're going to discuss this controversial subject, marijuana. Jaquilla Hughes, how are you, Jaquilla? It's good to see you. Thank you for checking in, and you have my condolences as well as my, support. So, if you need anything, you shout out to us. You let us know. You got the Black Factor family on your side. Always know that. Anyway, y'all, welcome to the Black Factor. I'm your host, Brian Forbes. Don't forget to check us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, and YouTube. And, of course, Facebook. Don't forget that one. Don't forget you can check us on Wednesdays on the simulcast where we are broadcasting live on Oh So Smooth Radio with that DJ Shorty Smooth, where the music never stops. You can download that app at the Play Store, Apple Tunes, and all them other places where you can get them apps. And it is a good app to have because if you want good music all the time, that's definitely the route to go. My man they keep it jamming. We got DJs from all over the country that play on that station every day, and man, it's just fantastic. So y'all be sure to look out for that. Regina Freeman is in the building. Hey, Regina, it's good to see you, dear. So y'all, we're gonna dive into this thing, and I'm just gonna give a couple of disclaimers right off the top. I got to give y'all a couple of disclaimers right off the top. Number one, I'm still a little sick. Now, my nurse is on her job. I want y'all to know that. She is definitely on her square and making sure that I'm good. So we good right there. I'm getting better slowly, but I'm getting there. All right. Then, we're going to, here's the thing, y'all. Today is a very special day. This is 420 Eve. Now, who knows what 420 is? Anybody know what 420 is? Hands, anybody? Thumbs up. Give me some thumbs up if you know what 420 is, y'all. Anybody know what 420 is? Yeah, no, yeah, no, no. Okay, well, 420. See, y'all gotta, I'm gonna make it through. 420 is April the 20th, and that is the day that where everybody celebrates the marijuana plant by going out and smoking and getting high as hell for a whole day is 420. All bets are off, bar none. That's some type of traditional thing, and today is 420 Eve. I'm calling it 420 Eve. It's like Christmas Eve, except we got different trees. That's all, just different trees. But it still works. So we in 420 Eve, y'all, and we're gonna talk about some history about 420 because y'all know how I do. I got to tie everything to history. I got to tie it all to history, and I'm gonna show you just how asinine marijuana became illegal. It's just the dumbest. But it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. But we're gonna get into that. So y'all stay tuned, and we about to get this party started. All right, now that we got all of that out there, we're going to get all that legal stuff out the way. I don't want nobody calling up. Well, he said this, that, and the other, and he put it on his show, and no, none of that. I had to put that disclaimer up there, y'all. Now, before we get into the marijuana thing, right? First thing I want to say is this Derek Chauvin trial. Closing arguments today about drove me insane because the defense, don't get me wrong, I get it. I ain't gonna lie. I don't knock this lawyer because he's doing his job. He's doing every possible thing he can think of to get this man off. I gotta respect him as a lawyer. I have to. He's done everything there is possible. He doesn't have much to work with, and he's actually done better than I expected. I'm not gonna lie. I still think they're gonna lose. I still think that he's gonna get convicted. A lot of people are quite pessimistic and don't believe that things are going to go well. But I, on the other hand, I tend to think that things are going to go the way they're supposed to, and I think that means that he will be convicted on all 3 counts. I'm a little pissed off that they have decided to jump on Maxine Waters for her comments about this case and talking about people need to stay in the streets. And now you got people they're talking about trying to censor her and all this kind of stuff. Well, my problem is, excuse me, y'all. My problem is that why wasn't anybody saying anything about Donald Trump when he was making all his racist, insensitive comments about every damn thing that was going on? Now all of a sudden everybody got a conscience? Man, I don't think so. Move around with that nonsense. I'm sick of the double standards. I'm very tired of them, and they need to stop that crap. So we got a lot to cover, y'all. I got to get through all of this. Now, this weed, y'all, the devil's lettuce, hemp, cannabis, ganja, bud, dank, kush, skunk sticky, and left-handed cigarettes are now currently legal again in 8 states, recreationally and otherwise, and medicinally. And as I always say, so goes California, so goes the rest of the country. So you can rest assured that it is going to come to pass that marijuana will be made legal nationally. But the thing is this, it should never have been made illegal to begin with. But we're going to get into that shortly. In the meantime, we're going to talk about Emperor Xin Yang of China. He was the first recorded, he's the first recorded, the guy with the first recorded history of the use of cannabis with THC. Because the thing about cannabis is that it is hemp, and hemp has been a major staple in global use and trade since, let me put it this way. The first recorded use of cannabis for the purpose of getting high or medical use was in 2737 BCE. And the guy, Xin Yang, he used it to treat gout, malaria, and poor memory. Imagine that. I thought it made your memory bad, shit. Anyway, the fact is, there's an entire history how the plant came from the Orient and began to circumvent the whole globe, and it became a very popular item for obvious reasons. You have, let me put it like this. You have marijuana, let me not say marijuana, hemp. When they use it for making rope, clothing, paper, and things like that, it's called hemp. When they're using it for medicinal purposes or for the use of getting high, recreational purposes, then it's called marijuana. Now, a hemp plant, although it is the same as marijuana, it does not possess the hallucinogenic attributes. It doesn't have THC in it. But the outlawing of marijuana was, of course, like all these other laws that I've showed you before, born out of racism. Imagine that. Did y'all know one man, one individual got marijuana banned globally through fear-mongering and lies? Now, we're going to get into, because it's really quite sad, actually. This guy's name was Harry Anslinger. See, I'm gonna give you the straight up. I'm gonna give you the game right off the top. He was born in Altoona, Pennsylvania in 1882. Now, his family immigrated to the U.S. in 1881. So he was an immigrant, basically. His people straight off the boat. Well, he decides to come to the States and make changes, right? One of his most famous quotes, "Reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men. The primary reason to outlaw marijuana is its effect on degenerate races." Harry Anslinger. Now, this is the thing that is so disturbing for me to such a degree, because we are still subjected to things like this and these attitudes. And you got to also remember too, when you start tying things together, you have to remember that guys like Anslinger, he was one of the Hoover boys. You know, remember J. Edgar Hoover, Mr. COINTELPRO himself, Mr. Do whatever he want and treat people like crap and ruin people's lives. Oh, this was one of his boys. See, this was all a part of the same program. Mr. COINTELPRO, Harry Anslinger was right there with him. This is what he looked like. He was the commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. He is the guy who founded this particular commission. Now, this is the beginning of the DEA, just in case you didn't know. So, now, moving forward, I gotta, and the funny thing, Kennedy actually brought him back on when he took over office, which I thought was pretty amazing. But this guy used straight up fear tactics to get everything that he wanted. Deborah Scruggs in the building. I see you, Dia Lane. WB Reese is in the building. Regina, Myron, Candyman. That's the Candyman, y'all. Y'all got to check his show out on Wednesdays right after me. He comes on. Great show, y'all. A lot of fun, a lot of good music. Jaquilla Hughes is in the building. Kim Shelton. Hey, dog. It's good to see y'all. Thank you for stopping in. So anyway, this guy was a crazy ass racist. Now I'm gonna show you just how crazy this dude was, right? Now he went from, let me see. This is him in later years. This guy caused an awful lot of problems for a lot of people, because when we think about the legalization of marijuana today, you got to think about all of the guys that are incarcerated, all the guys that have been incarcerated, all the people that have been incarcerated. I say guys, but all the people who have done major time in penitentiary, really for nothing. And now a lot of these people are going to have their lives basically restored. They're going to get, as these things become legal again, they're going to be getting expungements and release from prison and all that sort of stuff. Now here's the part that Anslinger, this is where his real problem was. This cat hated jazz. And because he hated jazz so much, because he connected jazz to black folks, let me just put it. He connected it all to black culture, which of course, like I said, he hated so damn much. Now, this right here is what he feared the most. See that one black man sitting there blowing a horn and all the white folks is following him like the Pied Piper? He hated it. Now, keep in mind, now I don't know how many of y'all saw this. Oh, and also, let's not forget, because during this time too, you had Cab Calloway. I don't know if y'all ever heard his song called Reefer Man. That was a good song. Then you had Billie Holiday. Now, I don't know how many of y'all saw Billie Holiday versus the United States of America. The man who was stalking Billie Holiday in that movie was Harry Anslinger. He was doing everything in his power to stop people from playing jazz, and everything in his power to stop black people from using marijuana medicinally or otherwise. Okay? So this was yet another reason or another excuse for him to create problems for people who had been using it. Now, this guy is the grandfather of the war on drugs. Now, you remember in the movie in Billie Holiday, he hated the fact that she would sing that song, Strange Fruit. Isn't it amazing how they don't ever want to hear the truth about themselves? So he caused a whole bunch of problems for her. And they say, it has been rumored. I mean, I can see it being true that he's the reason she died. He drove her crazy. He stalked her, you know. And what was anybody gonna do? And you got to remember, this is one of J. Edgar Hoover's buddies. If you know anything about J. Edgar Hoover and how relentless and how much of a devil he was, then you know that this was nothing but trouble from the word go. So he did everything in his power to try and bring down as many jazz musicians, get rid of the music genre, and destroy as many black folks in the process as he could. From the beginning, Anslinger conflated drug use, race, and music. Reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men. He was quoted as saying, "There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana use. The marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and any others." Now, this is the sort of fear-mongering that got the law to be changed, so that he had what should have been sensible white folks thinking that what he was saying actually held weight. Now, one of the other ways that he used to do what he did, right? This is the most scandalous right here. This is one of his most famous stories in American Magazine. It was a guy by the name of Victor Licata. He killed his whole family. An entire family was murdered by a youthful addict in Florida. Right off top, he's trying to blame it on the weed. When officers arrived at the home, they found the youth staggering about in a human slaughterhouse. With an axe, he had killed his father, mother, 2 brothers, and a sister. He seemed to be in a daze. He had no recollection of having committed the multiple crimes. The officers knew him ordinarily as a sane, rather quiet young man. Now he was pitifully crazed. They sought the reason. The boy said that he had been in the habit of smoking something which youthful friends called muggles. That, ladies and gentlemen, is another term for weed, a childish name for marijuana. The story is one of 200 violent crimes which were documented in Anslinger's Gore Files series. It has since been proved. Kim Shelton said that wasn't weed. Hey, I agree. I agree with you 100%. But the story is one of 200 violent crimes which were documented in Anslinger's Gore Files series. It has since been proved that Licata murdered his family due to severe mental illness, which had been diagnosed early in his youth and not because of cannabis use. Researchers have now proved that Anslinger was wrongly attributed 198 of those Gore Files stories to marijuana uses. And the remaining 2 cases would not be disproved because no records existed concerning the crimes. In other words, they didn't even exist. It's just some more shit he made up. During the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act hearings, Anslinger rehashed 1933 Licata killings while giving testimony to Congress. Now, he should have been locked up for lying to Congress. Whatever happened to that? Remember those days? They locked people up for lying to Congress. But they believed him. Why? Because they wanted to believe him. That's how deep the hatred ran in this country for black folks and people of color. In the 1930s, Anslinger's anti-marijuana articles often contained racist themes. Colored students at the University of Minnesota partying with white female students, smoking marijuana, and getting their sympathy with stories of racial persecution result pregnancy. He actually wrote this. 2 Negroes took a girl, 14 years old, and kept her for 2 days under the influence of hemp. Upon recovery, she was found to be suffering from syphilis. Reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men. Anslinger targeted Billie Holiday because of her 1939 song, Strange Fruit, threatening her and instructing her to stop performing that song. Targeting minorities, especially black Americans, with drug charges and harassment was part of Anslinger's strategy to justify the existence of a budget of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Now, you got to remember, the reason he's on weed now is because prohibition had ended. See, now he potentially could be out of a job. He needed something else to tackle, so this was it. Anslinger was considered so racist that he was regarded as a crazy racist in the 1920s. In a 1964 book, The Protectors, Anslinger included a chapter called Jazz and Junk Don't Mix, about black jazz musicians Billie Holiday, whom he had handcuffed on her deathbed due to suspicion of drug use and possession, and Charlie Parker, who both died after years of illegal heroin and alcohol abuse. Anslinger hoped to orchestrate a nationwide dragnet of jazz musicians and kept a file called Marijuana and Musicians. This guy was a real piece of garbage. Critics of Anslinger believe his campaign against marijuana had another hidden agenda. For example, now, y'all know I always say follow the money. They say this ain't true, but DuPont, the company industrial firm petrochemical interests, and William Randolph Hearst conspired together to create a highly sensational anti-marijuana campaign so as to eliminate hemp as an industrial competitor to synthetic materials. See that? This is where y'all got to remember fossil fuels become a very popular thing in the late 1800s, particularly in the early 1900s, all the way up until where we are now. And we are overusers of petroleum. These are the same people who don't want to see renewable energy come to pass. Okay. You heard what I said. DuPont and let's see. Now, apparently, Randolph Hearst and DuPont deny any of that is true. Of course they will. Why would they admit to it? They say that they don't have any link to any of that, or any of the changes in the law. And I don't believe that as far as I can throw any of them. Nylon was a huge success from the start. It was not until 1934, in his fourth year in office, that Anslinger considered marijuana to be a serious threat. Let's see. When lawmakers and medical professionals pushed back against Anslinger's unscientific claims. Now, here's the crazy part. And I remember this because I had done some studying on this many, many years ago. And I always thought it was interesting how they never really took the time to do any real medical studies on marijuana. There's no research that goes back during these times that says that marijuana has any kind of negative effects or any of the things that, they try to make it out to be, so to try to say that, it's dangerous. So interestingly enough, in one notable incident, New York City Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia, if y'all know the airport there is named LaGuardia, he was the mayor at the time, commissioned the New York Academy of Medicine to conduct a 5-year study on the effects of smoking marijuana. The results of the study contradicted claims that cannabis caused violent crime, the corruption of children, and an inevitable addition to morphine, heroin, or cocaine. Instead, the 220-page report found marijuana use results in laughter, drowsiness, and increased feelings of relaxation, disinhibition, and self-confidence. It even suggested it might be used to help cure alcoholism and other serious drug addictions. In 1944, the LaGuardia Committee concluded that the publicity concerning the catastrophic effects of marijuana smoking in New York City was unfounded and recommended repealing existing anti-marijuana laws. Anslinger threw LaGuardia's report out. See, one person. This is the part that every time I think about J. Edgar Hoover, and it just makes my head hurt how much power he had. He had more power than the president. And he literally was there through multiple presidents, and he told people what to do. And it just drives me insane that one individual like him or like Anslinger had the power to change people and do the things they felt like doing just because they felt like doing it. Just evil. So, and the thing is, y'all, marijuana had been cultivated throughout the world And a lot of people don't know that marijuana was actually a major crop in these United States, indica, for a very long time. Funny coincidence. Here goes some more of that history. They stopped using marijuana as a crop right after the Civil War. I wonder why that is. That's right. No more slaves. Damn it. They ain't got nobody to plant and plow the field. Dig that. Despite having no basis in scientific fact, Anslinger's state-sponsored propaganda campaign would generate enough public hysteria around the devil's lettuce that Congress would classify it alongside heroin and LSD as a Schedule I drug. Now, come on. I don't know nobody that'll never OD'd on on marijuana. I don't know nobody that ever got in their car and went out and killed a family on marijuana. I don't know nobody who has done any of the things that alcohol and other things that are legal have done. But, yeah. Anyway, to this day, people in the United States use and sell marijuana at roughly the same rate, regardless of race. Aha. Look, you want some fire weed, them white boys be having that fire weed. Look, it don't matter. Yet a black person is 4 times more likely to go to prison over marijuana. Now, why is this? Because our communities are always over-policed, because we have always been made the poster child for all things that, people fear. It just kills me how we're not the problem. And we always get made the scapegoat while the villains play victim. It just amazes me. They overcriminalize our communities. And as a matter of fact, back in those days, in the mid-1900s, they actually started doing mandatory minimums back then because of marijuana. Yeah. Yep. This was the beginning of the war on drugs, y'all. They never studied what the medicinal purposes were or what the uses were or any of that. They just decided one day, this guy, Anslinger, decided one day that he hated jazz, he hated black people, he hated Mexicans, and so this is why they wanted to start causing problems. Now, marijuana actually began coming into this country on a recreational note after the Mexican Revolution. 1910, a lot of those guys were running from those wars and they came into the States. And when they came into the States, they brought recreational marijuana with them. And in doing so, they didn't like it. They didn't like the idea that these guys were, I guess, having a good time and enjoying their lives and minding their business. I don't know. I don't know what their problem was. But anyway, and then it spread, of course, to other groups. And then, people like this decided that there was violence attached to it. I get so annoyed by liars. This is some of that Donald Trump stuff. Just say anything to get what you want. It's a damn shame is what it is. Now, the designation of Schedule I drug claimed that marijuana, which first appeared in the United States pharmacopoeia, I think I said that right, in 1850, and had been widely utilized as a patent medicine during the 19th and early 20th centuries, had absolutely no medical value and represented the highest potential for abuse. No medical experts were involved in this categorization. See, that's what I'm saying. They just took it upon themselves to say whatever they want. Now, this right here, just to give you an example, this is stuff they sold on the shelf. This is, what they, the kind of thing that they did. This is what they sold. It had medicinal purposes, and everybody who used it knew it, and it was all good. It was all good on the wood. According to a writer, jazz was the opposite of everything Harry Anslinger believed in. It is improvised, relaxed, free form. It follows its own rhythm. Worst of all, it is a mongrel music made up of European, Caribbean, and African echoes, all mating on American shores. To Anslinger, this was a musical anarchy and evidence of a recurrence of the primitive impulses that lurk in black people, waiting to emerge. It sounded, his internal memos said, like the jungles in the dead of night. When word got around in the late 1930s that Anslinger had referred to a black person as a ginger-colored nigger, Pennsylvania Senator Joseph Guffey called for Anslinger to be fired. But these calls were dismissed, likely because of his influential Washington network. He was probably sleeping with Hoover. You know, Hoover was in the closet doing his thing while he criminalized everybody else. That's a whole other story for another day. These are some evil men. Evil. Just evil. In 1937, Anslinger wrote an article about the scourge of weed titled Marijuana, Assassin of Youth, which appeared in the American magazine. He began with the common white supremacist trope, trading on the idea that white women and children were in danger. Not long ago, the body of a young girl lay crushed on the sidewalk after a plunge from a Chicago apartment window. Everyone called it suicide, but actually it was murder. The killer was a narcotic known to America as marijuana, and to history as hashish. He also wrote of a marijuana addict hung for the criminal assault of a 10-year-old girl, Anslinger explained. And according to, this is a direct quote from Anslinger, those who first spread its use were musicians. They brought the habit northward with the surge of hot music demanding players of exceptional ability, especially in improvisation. Along the Mexican border and in southern seaport cities, it had long been known that the drug has a strangely exhilarating effect upon the musical sensibilities. The musician who uses it finds that the musical beat seemingly comes to him quite slowly, thus allowing him to interpolate improvised notes with a comparative ease. He does not realize that he's tapping the keys with a furious speed impossible for one in a normal state. Sound like he was jealous to me. He sound like a damn hater. He wish he could play that music. Hater? He's a hater. Okay, so y'all had to forgive me because I'm telling you, I had so much stuff. I got so much information that I literally had to like stop. And there's no way I'm going to be able to cover everything because it's so much. God. But this is okay because it just plants the seed so that y'all can do the homework. So you can really get in there and check this out. And there's a reason why I'm telling you that you're going to want to check it out. And it mainly has to do with the fact that cannabis is the future, y'all. Did I say that? Cannabis is the future. It is trading on stock market. It is a $1 billion business. Just in case you didn't know that. And you know, it's funny because there's such a stigma that goes with marijuana. And it's unfortunate, you know, like, don't get it twisted. I personally don't care about smoking, period. Personally, if I'm going to be involved, I would prefer edibles. I've had some not long ago, and I'm cool on that. I'm not a smoker. It don't do nothing for me. But the fact is this. I know a bud tender in Chicago who works at one of the dispensaries. They turn millions of dollars out of these stores. The question becomes, why aren't there more people of color involved? Especially since back in the day, anybody wanted weed, you had to go to the hood to get it. You had to come see, you know, our people to get it. So how is it that we've been cut out of the legitimate side of marijuana production and legal sales? See, these are the things you got to pay attention to. Now, fortunately, we have Mike Tyson, Snoop Dogg, and a host of others that are now involved on much higher levels in the marijuana trade. And the bottom line is this. It ain't for everybody, but at the end of the day, don't knock anybody who does. Because I tell you like this. I could see me being able to get along with a person who smokes too much weed better than I can somebody who drinks too much alcohol. Let me put it that way. That's just me, because I know I know the effects of both. And people who smoke weed generally just want to go to sleep. They want to relax. They want to chill. They ain't they're not aggressive. It's just not that way. And I don't understand. Well, I do understand how things got the way they are. Now, they one of the lies they used to tell, especially during the Nixon and Reagan years, is that marijuana is a gateway drug. And I say, yes, it is. It's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug to people relaxing and being cool with each other. It's a gateway to friendship. It removes divisions. It keeps people from, acting some kind of way. Now, the crazy thing is, it brings people together. But the crazy thing is that when we got into the 60s, a lot of the soldiers from Vietnam were getting high overseas. And, they were smoking while they was out in the bush. And that freaked out people because people already were mad about the Vietnam War. So you got to understand the climate of the country during that time. People were mad at the soldiers. Soldiers would come home off of planes and get spit on. And believe it or not, that whole debacle is what got Richard Nixon elected in the first place. This is how he ended up in office. Nixon is the one who created this to be a Schedule I drug. He's the one who put it on that list. He also did that for another reason. Y'all remember I don't know, well, I ain't gonna say y'all remember, but I remember the hippie age, the flower children, Haight-Ashbury. These were times when people just wanted to love one another. Wasn't nobody trying to kill each other, and everything was cool. Well, they wanted to get rid of the hippies. The funny thing is that the hippies are now the ones that are your doctors, politicians, and lawyers. These are the same people who fought against the establishment who are now the establishment. That's just amazing. But this is where we are now, y'all. So, becoming a Schedule I drug, of course, now puts everybody who uses, buys, sells in jeopardy. But here's the difference. Once again, black people and white people have always sold, used, and purchased marijuana at basically the same rates. However, black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested and charged with possession or use of marijuana. Still to this day. Things are getting better, though, of course, because most of these states have decriminalized it at this point. Now, the thing is, too, and, going back into the history part of it, Indian hemp was one of the U.S., was part of the U.S. economy for years. It was one of the major crops. Now, despite being told by medical professionals on multiple occasions, Anslinger ignored a discussion forwarded to him by the American Medical Association, in which 29 of 30 pharmacists and drug industry representatives objected to his proposals to ban marijuana. It was back in the 1930s, because 1937 was the year it became illegal. They put a marijuana tax on it. And the thing, it was, because it was inexpensive. And that was around the time, you're talking about the Depression, right after World War I. People didn't have a lot of money. And they were looking for a way to get, high. So they couldn't buy a lot of alcohol. Plus, you just came off of Prohibition. You had all that stuff going on. So people smoked weed, mostly in the Southwest. Right now, for the states that right now have legal marijuana, their tax revenue: Alaska, 23,864,759. California, 1,031,879,962. Colorado, 387,480,110. Illinois, 52,783,471. Massachusetts, 81,734,083. Nevada, 105,180,947. Oregon, 133,150,349. And Washington State, 469,200. This is tax revenue. Yet we're sitting there talking about the shortcomings of our tax bases, how we don't have money for infrastructure, and all these other sorts of things. See, this shows you how there are people in power who want to maintain a certain status quo. There is nothing about marijuana that is going to change anything in this world that's going to hurt. It ain't like people ain't buying it and smoking it anyway. The difference is now it'll be legal. But then that makes you wonder, is the reason why they don't want to legalize it in certain places because it's still a form of revenue and incarceration? Would they rather it still feed the prison industrial complex rather than feed the economy? See? The future is about being a grower, an investor, a trader, something. There's three things we got to start paying more attention to, y'all. And I've said this on here before. Cryptocurrency. It is the future. Renewable energy. Told y'all about them charging stations. And marijuana. Excuse me. Woo. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. We're gonna get through it. Funny thing is, and they don't teach you this, and they don't teach you this in the history books when they tell you about Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. They don't tell you they were two of the biggest hemp farmers in America. They don't tell you that they made a ton of money off weed. They won't tell you that. And again, they don't want to talk about their losses anyway because after slavery, excuse me, y'all, after slavery, wasn't nobody to do the work. So that's how that goes. Quick fun fact. Did y'all know that Betsy Ross, like, how the hell Betsy Ross get in this? The prototype American flag that she created and that she stitched up was made from hemp. Dig that. Nobody ever told me that one. I had to figure that out. Now, medical cannabis, the good thing about it, and I happen to know for a fact that it has its purposes medicinally. Now, I have seen situations where young children who were susceptible to seizures cut back on them. I've seen people who suffer from inflammation do better. I've seen people who are suffering from the effects of cancer treatment feel better. I think what bothers me is that we don't allow, or we haven't been allowed to let these studies and these types of things go forward so that people can actually benefit. You know, people claim that they're so interested in the public health and public safety, but they continue to operate off an ideology that when you look back and you do the homework and you understand why marijuana is even illegal in the first place, it should be deemed unconstitutional because it was a racist, whatever laws they put in place should be kicked out because they were done under racist pretenses. They should be literally thrown out. Somebody ought to bring that case to court. A racist came up with lies and racism to outlaw something and doesn't have any proof of any of it. It's ridiculous. And I know for a fact that it does help people. You know, the list of medicinal properties is very long and it's very good for people. You know, that's just one of those things that we normalize things so quickly and so easily that when we do, you know, it becomes standard behavior. And at some point we have to re-examine, you know, these types of things. But, you know, everybody gets caught up in everything and, you know, just, it ain't that serious. Don't worry about it, you know. But they have an irrational need to keep cannabis illegal. And it's rooted in the very same ignorance that made it illegal in the first place. I mean, it's just ignorance. He was ignorant as hell for, what the hell is that? Hold on, y'all. Pot! I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what the hell going on. Oh. She said she down there smoking joints, y'all. She just set the damn house alarm on fire. She just set the alarms off in the house. She said she down there smoking. All right. Boy, you stupid. Anyway, I guess that's a drawback to marijuana. You can't keep your house from burning down, right? Anyway, be a careless marijuana smoker if that's what you're going to do. Let me put it that way. Jaquilla Hughes say, who trying to burn down the house? Hey, that's Poppy. That's us down there. She kind of messed me up with that one, y'all. Thank you. Thank you very much. More water. That's what I'm talking about. Now, in the 1970s, well, late 60s, early 70s, you had Nixon, who, of course, like I said, got elected because of this whole thing. See, it's just funny how when you start, you know, digging and doing the homework and you figure out what the real reasons why certain things are and how they came to be. And it's amazing how you find out that the law had been changed, created because of what? Black people. Goes back to the same way I have exposed on multiple occasions all of the laws that were created in this country because they were trying to stop black people. Gun laws, which are now coming back to kick them in their butt. marijuana laws. The list goes on. They create these laws out of arrogance, believing that, we're going to shut them down. And they always end up shutting themselves down. So once they, in 70, Nixon and Congress, they was itching to get to the hippies. They created the Controlled Substance Act. And then that's when they outlawed it and called it and created it as a Schedule 1. And this was also the time when they began the modern war on drugs. The DEA was created under Nixon. Mandatory minimums came under Nixon. There's a lot. Nixon did so much damage to this country, and people just don't realize how far back. The reason you have trouble getting insurance and medical care today, Nixon. Do your homework. The information is there. Moving forward, he, Reagan then took up the mantle of the war on drugs. Yet another, while he himself was butthole deep in the Iran-Contra scandal. Literally selling drugs in America to pay for a war in another country. An illegal war. These are people who run our country. These are the people who some individuals think walk on water. Our politicians. Given way too much power for being the evil people that they are. Sometimes I wish there was a way I could dig them up and kick their ass. But, oh well. Anyway. Fact is, ladies and gentlemen, Canadian marijuana stocks are through the roof. Many of the marijuana stocks are through the roof. In fact, companies like, I can't remember the exact name of that make Marlboro. Anyway, just to give you an idea, they've jumped in the market. You can literally buy a pack of Marlboro cannabis cigarettes. There are individuals smart enough to get in this game and have gotten in the game way ahead of time so that they clearly get their money. Now, one of the problems that we have as a people is that we wait too long all the time to get involved in stuff because we're resistant. We're resistant to change. We're resistant to what's happening. And I want people to understand one thing. We are never going back to the way it was. Everybody always waiting on us to get back to the old days. It ain't going to never happen. It ain't happening. You either adjust to what's happening now and figure out a way to be successful within it or perish with your old ideas. This is yet another one of those opportunities. Take advantage of it. Because one day you'll look back and say, damn, I had a chance to. It's kind of how I feel about Bitcoin. I had one of my daughter's boyfriends was chasing me down, trying to get me to buy Bitcoin when it was a 50 cent, $1.25. And I was like, man, go on. I ain't got time for that. I mean, just my ignorant. Just a prime example of what I'm talking about right now. Not keeping up with what was going on. And that's my fault. In fact, that's $1 million mistake. Because he's a millionaire now, and I'm not. So all I'm saying is, keep up with what's happening, y'all. Stay on top of your game. So I'm going to say this here. There is so much information about marijuana and everything that goes with it and the history. There is no possible way that I could get it all in. So I gave you the highlights. So you can do your homework and get in there and check it out just to see what's popping. Ain't nothing wrong with expanding our brains, y'all. Just stay in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time for me to ride so I can let my nurse take care of me. You dig? Yeah, I'm gonna be better. I'll be better soon, y'all. My nurse got to work on me some more today. She's been working on me all day. She's gonna work on me some more. We're gonna be good over here. So, with all of that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Don't forget on Wednesday, we will be broadcasting live on Also Smooth Radio, as well as our regular platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and, well, Periscope. But they're actually Twitter now. Anyway, so with that said, you know where to find us. Y'all come hang out with your boy. I hope to be a lot better by then. I want y'all all to have yourselves a wonderful evening, and let's stay tuned for the verdict to come in. I want to see if it's going to take. If it take too long, I'm going to be worried. I ain't going to lie. I hope they come back in the morning like, yeah, guilty. Have a nice day. That's what I hope. In fact, I can't wait until some of the jurors are actually interviewed. I'll be really interested to see that. So y'all have yourselves a great, fantastic, super elastic, bubble plastic evening. And I'm out, y'all. Love, peace.